Today, we're diving into this really fascinating paper from 1986 that looks at near-death experiences in a whole new light. It suggests that maybe we've been trying to understand them with the wrong tools, and it offers a powerful new framework for one of life's biggest mysteries. I mean, it's a question that has probably crossed all of our minds, right? We've all heard these incredible stories, but what is really going on when someone goes to the very edge of death and then comes back? And what's so wild is how similar the stories are. People talk about this incredible feeling of peace, of leaving their body, moving through some kind of darkness toward a brilliant light, and very often this intense life review. These are the classic signs we're going to be digging into. All right, so let's start with the mystery itself. These experiences are, deeply personal, but they seem to follow a script, a pattern that just doesn't quite fit with our normal day-to-day understanding of how consciousness works. Okay, so our roadmap for this whole thing is this paper by John Pennachio. His whole argument is that to really get a handle on NDEs, we need to look past our usual ways of thinking. And what the paper really gets at is how science and psychology have, kind of struggled with what to do with these stories. Anything spiritual or a little out there often gets pushed aside as unscientific, which leaves these huge human experiences just unexplained. So, if the old maps don't work, where do you find a new one? This is where the paper brings in a whole different framework, one that was actually designed for these kinds of deep, unseen experiences. So, enter this guy, Walter Pahnke. Back in the 60s, he wanted to find a serious, systematic way to study mystical states. He saw them as a key to understanding consciousness beyond just our normal, everyday reality. And this is where things get really interesting. Pahnke came up with a list of 9 categories, basically a checklist, for identifying what makes an experience a genuine mystical one. Okay, so check this out. This table might look a little academic, but it's basically a toolkit for understanding the indescribable. It covers everything from that feeling of unity, that all is one sensation, to transcendence, where time and space just don't matter anymore. He even has a category for ineffability, which is just a fancy way of saying it's impossible to put into words. He literally categorized the uncategorizable. All right, now for the main event. This is where Pennachio's paper connects the dots. He takes these 9 categories from Pahnke and compares them to what people actually say about their near-death experiences. And well, the overlap is pretty mind-blowing. So first up is unity. This is that profound feeling of dissolving, of becoming part of something much, much bigger than your individual self. It's a cornerstone of mystical experiences. And then you read a quote like this from someone who's actually been there. Becoming part of a greater whole, a loss of identity. I mean, that's not just close. It's a perfect match for Pahnke's category of unity. All right, next up is this mind-bending idea, transcending time and space. In these moments, the normal laws of the universe just seem to pause. Time can feel like it's stopped completely or like it's an eternity. Wow. I mean, just listen to this account from an injured soldier. One moment which never altered, an existence that felt only mental. It sounds like something straight out of a physics textbook about a different dimension, but it's a real human experience. It perfectly describes transcending time and space. Okay, this next one, ineffability, is super important because it tackles a problem everyone who has an NDE runs into. How do you describe something that our language just wasn't built for? Pahnke recognized that the inability to describe it is actually one of its defining features.
See what's happening here? The person can't just describe the feeling. They have to become it. They don't say, I felt peaceful. They say, I was peace. This is a classic example of ineffectability. When words fail and you have to resort to these profound states of being to even get close.
But hang on, it doesn't just stop with the experience itself. Pahnke's framework goes one step further to what happens after you come back. And this is where the connection between NDEs and mystical experiences becomes crystal clear. So according to Pahnke, a real mystical experience isn't just a fleeting moment. It changes you. For good, it leads to lasting positive shifts in how you see the world and live your life. Sound familiar? Well, that's because it's exactly what we see with NDEs time and time again. I mean, just take a look at these changes. They're profound. An almost total loss of the fear of death is one of the biggest ones. People come back with this deep appreciation for life, more empathy, and they suddenly care a lot less about money and things and a lot more about people. The experience totally resets their priorities. And so, we get to the big takeaway of the paper. It's actually pretty straightforward when you lay it all out like this. Since near-death experiences check every single box on Pahnke's list for what constitutes a mystical experience, then maybe that's exactly what they are. This framework gives us a whole new language, a new lens to look at one of life's oldest mysteries. And it leaves you with a really big question to chew on. If these incredibly personal brushes with death consistently trigger the same universal mystical pattern in people from all walks of life, what does that say about what human consciousness is and what it's truly capable of?